Yo, guys. Welcome back to the Game 6 Clay podcast. It's your boy Gotham with my boys Matt, Charlie, and surprise, Dub Nation, the guest that our first ever guest on the Game 6 Clay podcast, Mr. Joe Viray. Welcome, Joe. Thank you so much for thank you so much for being here. And welcome to the Game 6 Clay pod, man. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Actually looking forward to this because it's like the first ever, I don't know, like film walkthrough thing that I've been asked to go on. So, and I'm crazy about film. I know Charlie is too. He's
Yeah.
been exchanging a lot of DMs in terms of just film stuff, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, I think all of our guys and everybody who follows is gonna be stoked, man. You two are kind of in Dub's Twitter right now. You're the two guys who we can go to learn a little more about hoops and especially about Warriors basketball, man. So we're excited to have you on.
Yeah, shout out to Kelly too. I think it's Omira Morales. Like he's been getting after it with the clipping too. But like Joe, like you do such an unbelievable job at it. Like you're literally like the quickest clip in the East. Like just out here, just like getting these clips off like right after the play happens. Like I'll just be watching it and then like see a notification. I'll be like, oh wow, look, he's already got like a 3-play sequence with one play from like 2018. Like it's unreal stuff, man. Like it's
crazy. It's
so much
crazy,
fun to
man.
watch.
I mean, I just love how Warriors Twitter is being like, it's you're slowly seeing the film guys like yourself and Kelly, and you see more of that. And I think Warriors Twitter needed that kind of thing exactly, right? Where you go into the details. And I know we have all of these, trade talk and all of the Steve Kerr is blank talk and rotations and stuff that, you see on Warriors Twitter. But yeah, I mean, it's fresh to have that kind of analysis, that kind of have that kind of talk, that kind of, instead of just the narratives and stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful that yourself and Kelly are getting into the film stuff. And I feel like, it's kind of like a healthy competition between the three of us where, I see Kelly clip this. I'm like, oh no, like I didn't see that. Like, that's great. And then I pay more attention to the game to try to see all of the stuff that I would have missed otherwise. So it's really just you two driving me to be better at what I do.
You guys
So
are
I
like Steph
appreciate
and
that.
Clay, man. You're like Steph and Clay, pushing each other
And
every
Draymond,
day.
Steph
That's
Curry
right.
and Draymond.
You got
Yeah.
Draymond, man.
The core three, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's awesome.
No, but like Joe, you're our Steph for a reason. We wanted to have you on here because I think it's just a fun intersection, like having this love for not only the film stuff, but like myself personally, like I got into it, especially with draft stuff, just sort of the player evaluation side of it. And you are all about the X's and O's, like back, with this Warriors offense is like the back of your hand. And it's been so awesome to see that the way, like you said, the Warriors Twitter and all these other fans have responded to it in such a positive way. Like to me, that was always sort of the way I love basketball. And it felt like, sort of being like the nerd off in the corner where it's like, I got like, clips and spreadsheets and like lineup statistics and everyone's just like, shut up. No one cares. And like, it's just awesome to see everyone care. So like, that's why we want to do this so much and, help not only us, but help everyone listen to this, understand a little bit more of like what goes on a play-to-play basis, because, we can look at it. We can all be looking at the game and see, 100 different people see 100 different things. And the way you see it is just crazy, man. It's special. So
Yeah,
we are the luckiest. We get the front row seats to just watch you guys cook. And Joe, yeah, dude, it's gonna be sick. So you guys want to just jump right into the nitty gritty? Should we get to it?
I'm down.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
let's
jump
get
right in.
into it.
So Charlie, I know you said that you had a set of clips that you sent over that you wanted to run through, and so you want to talk us through what we're seeing?
Yeah, so Joe actually sent me these first. We were sort of going back and forth about what it would be fun to look at, like especially some of the stuff that we've been talking about. It's fun to see like all these little things, but I thought it'd be cool if we sort of walk through sort of the base stuff you see, like some of the more common stuff you'll see out of this Warriors offense, then a lot of the other things that sort of branch out from there and sort of form like the secondary parts of the offense that you'll sort of see out there. And then when we got, if we got time for it, there's a fun few tidbits in there, especially a couple that Joe's been all over that I'm super excited to see. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's start with the
Hey, let's
staples.
jump right in.
Do it. Let's do it.
Let's let you take it away, Joe. The motion week.
Oh yeah, I mean, motion week is something that it's like the text is saying. They've been running it since Steve Kerr first took over the team, right? And we all know how the offense is a hybrid offense with the Spurs, with the triangle, some Princeton in there, some Phoenix Suns in there. This one is more directly lifted from the San Antonio Spurs, the motion week, where it's just there are a lot of variations with motion week, but it's just with the Warriors, it's a surefire way of them getting to a side pick and roll, basically. That's how the Warriors use it. And we all know how, people say that Steve Kerr isn't really the kind of pick and roll guy. Like there's a lot of truth into that. I don't think he'd directly go into a straight up high ball screen without doing a lot of other, dummy action or decoy action. So this is just like a long-winded way to simply put it into getting to like an empty corner side pick and roll. So you see here, like, the cross screen underneath for Wiseman. It started out with a shallow cut from Steph, and then here you go, like empty corner. There's no help from that side, so the low man from the other side, the weak side, has to help right on the Wiseman roll. And you see here, so Wiseman actually set a good screen, a pretty decent screen.
Yep.
And that's been one of the criticisms about him, right? So, and it's low hanging fruit for someone like Wiseman because he's such a really, really good rolling big. And that's pretty much his role right now. It's just roll to the rim with Steph as the ball handler, and Steph will find him, right? Because Steph draws doubles around those screens. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist, the basics of the action.
The one thing too, so like while we watch it again, like the normal speed, the thing that's so big about putting these empty side pick and rolls in for Wiseman, Kuminga, whoever else they're running for on these bigs is not having the strong side tagger, which will be that player coming in from the wing who can come in and try to dig or, strip the ball out from that big. So basically the only read Wiseman has to make after the screen is the low man, like you said, Joe, which was Patrick Williams on that play. And for a guy like James Wiseman, who's, 7 feet, he's feeling pretty good about his angle to get a dunk off over Patrick. So I think that's sort of the little wrinkle they throw in there where you see like, let's take away stuff from the rookie and make it as easy for him as we can for a supposed non-pick and roll coach.
And Kerr ran a lot of pick and roll. He adjusted like a third into the season, 2/3 into the season last season, where he ran a lot more pick and roll with Wiseman. So there's an argument, certainly an argument with that he should have adjusted earlier when it came to starting Wiseman and just starting running a lot more pick and rolls. But yeah, I mean, that's one way he put Wiseman in that position to have those low hanging fruit scores to the rim. And you certainly, when Wiseman comes back, I don't know when he'll come back, late this regular season, playoffs, you can, and I don't know, like besides the feasibility of Wiseman coming back late, you can expect him to run a lot of more of those motion weak sets for Wiseman, just because it's just an easy way to get him to the rim.
It's kind of like the best of both worlds for Kerr, right? You get that motion offense as well, but that pick and roll is also there for a freak like Jay Wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kerr likes his like what I said. Kerr likes his initiating actions, his dummy actions, his decoy actions. So, he has that. Plus, he ends up the play with a pick and roll. So, that's something that's, I think, one of the few staples where he can use in the playoffs. Most probably. more so than, let's say, like a split action. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much going to be a staple for as long as Kerr's going to be the coach. So
Until Steph retires. So
another one here that I like, like you talk about the dummy actions, and when you look at like how this play originates, it's like sort of that like Kerr trying to be like sort of a magician where it's like, I'm going to show you something over here while the real action is going on over here. And this is the part where, like you're running, especially with having Porzingis out of position, like you can sort of take these advantages for Steph, where while there's this other action going on the other side of the floor, he can read the two defenders in front of him and say, oh, this guy's out of position. Now I can just attack an empty side pick and roll instead of trying to worry about what's going on the other side. And the defenders are too worried about like these split actions and like the potential of like Clay coming off a curl to even try to pay attention to what's going on up there.
Can I just say, in this clip, I have no idea what Porzingis was trying to do. I don't know why. I think my guess was he was anticipating Steph rejecting the screen like a Jordan Poole. Like Jordan Poole's going to reject the screen here, but I think he was anticipating Steph to do the same. And so he just like, he anticipated, he went to his left, and then Steph just, Steph sensed it, like, what are you doing? And he went in for the floater. So I don't know. Porzingis, not the best defensive possession from the Mavs in that clip, but yeah.
So if when you're like looking at these clips, do you see like something defensively like before that happens where you see as the play develops, like the offense really sets up to take advantage of how the defense is playing? Do you like see like the Warriors kind of calling sets like that, like the one like the previous clip, Charlie? If you go back, you kind of saw like that off-ball movement going on, and that, like you said, Porzingis was out of position and it freed up, that floater. So is there something you saw like defensively that called that a play like that, or is that just how it developed?
I think in that specific instance, they ran that motion weak specifically to target Porzingis, because Porzingis is basically someone you can just attack in the pick and roll.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's just improvisation in that specific moment where Steph saw Porzingis drifting to basically contain him sideline, and Steph saw that, he went the other way and the paint was open. So it's basically a mixture of both, where the overarching theme of that set per se is to target a weak link, Porzingis, and Porzingis justifying that overarching objective by doing, I don't know, whatever he was intending to do. So mixture of both, really.
Yeah, so let's roll into this next one here. Like you said, I think he rejects Poole rejecting the screen here. Which, if any defender starts to have tape on him, like you start to realize is a serious tendency of his.
Almost every time, man.
I think I mentioned this before, but I really want to see the numbers, the rejection rate, screen rejection rate, if there are any.
I do remember seeing that.
It must be really, really high, right?
But yeah, just like going like when you see like guys rejecting the screen and creating that offense, like how does that like what element does that play into like some of these like offensive stuff we're seeing?
Well, well, for example, if you got someone like Kevon Looney setting the screen, if you're a defender trying to navigate around that screen, you're gonna do everything in your power to try to, I don't know, duck under the screen, go over the screen. Let's say go over the screen because you never duck under Steph or JP. So you're basically just using the defender's intention and momentum against them by rejecting the screen. So you're trying to counter the counter, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like defender's gonna position himself to try to navigate around that screen early on. Then you just go the other way, you reject it, and then you suddenly have a lane toward the rim, right? And you have an advantage, you create an advantage, and the defense is compromised. So Yeah, I mean, basically just someone with Jordan Poole. He's basically quick enough. He's athletic. He's fast off the first step. He has that quick burst. So um, you can see that rejection working. I would say around, if I had to ballpark a success rate, around maybe 60% of the time,
Yeah.
maybe closer to
Okay.
55.
Hey, we'll
But
take
yeah, I
that. That's
mean,
nice.
yeah, but it's still scouted. It's still scouted. Like, if you're in the scouting report, if you're other teams, it's like, oh, this dude will most likely reject the screen. So that's kind of a I don't want to say a concern, but it's something like, people like people already know about you. So, and if they do something like, if they ice the screen, for example, ice is when you deny the usage of the screen, you force them sideline. That's something that can play right into the defense's hands, because the natural tendency of Poole to reject the screen, he can get trapped along the sideline. He can have less room to operate with, because he's not going middle, or he's going to be up against that dropping or let big who steps up to the screen level. So yeah, I mean, it would be nice if he mixed it up a bit, like, like,
Yeah.
the rejecting screens is fine, but just don't do it as often as he does. So yeah.
Gotcha. Dope. Those
So
it's always fun. It's always fun to see those.
Joe, traditionally in the motion week, right? When we saw with San Antonio a lot, it's a lot of ends up in a post up to Tim Duncan, our Boris Jow, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's not
Wanted
going
to
to be
mention
an
that too.
option. Yeah, that's not going to be an option here with a guy like Looney. Is
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably pretty accurate, right?
Yeah, you don't have a post up big like Tim Duncan in this Warriors offense, obviously, right? So
James
you
Wiseman?
need,
I don't know.
well,
Who
maybe one day, not
knows?
now
Who
though, but
knows? Who knows?
I mean, I
Maybe in
think
his
I think
prime. Yeah.
like I wrote an article on Wiseman earlier, like preseason, and I don't remember, but his like points per possession on post ups was like really really low. So like yeah, I mean, when they do that cross screen underneath for Wiseman in the Spurs, that would be like a Tim Duncan post up on the other end. So
Worst case,
uh
Tiago
you know
Splitter coming out. Yeah.
yeah, the similar action they do for Wiggins when they do that what they call a head tap, because that's the play call sign. That's
Yeah, yeah.
basically what they did for Tim Duncan in motion week. So get him good low post position and let him work, because he's Tim Duncan. But yeah, you can't do that in
Hey,
this
both the
Warriors
first pick in
offense.
the draft, both all time greats, my man. So it's more of the same. Okay.
Both all stars too. Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah. Are we good? Yeah, we good.
Yeah, good to go.
All right.
So the second one we want to roll into, I think this is the one that causes the most headaches among Warriors Twitter. Especially, I love when you tweet out the pictures of the videos of the split action, specifically at Steve Jones. Like, he was screaming on today's episode of the Dunker Spot about Kevon Looney passing into the split action. But as simple and as like scoutable as it may be, like, especially like you said, it's something that most people can sort of get a pin on. There's a lot of fun stuff that comes out of it. So I think this video you put together does a great job showing it, how the splits can start off simple, but can we do a lot more complex stuff?
Yeah, so this is their three-way split. It's basically a three-way split. It starts out with a cross screen. They love their cross screens. So Draymond gets that post position, and that's pretty much a tell for a split action. But they add that wrinkle where Steph sets that what do you call, like, maybe a back screen sometimes. Sometimes it's a curl with Wiggins going in, dive cut. Sometimes it's Poole who does the dive cut. In this instance, it's Wiggins. And then it's basically just distraction. Like, you see the two defenders, they pay attention to the cut, to the Wiggins cut, and then you flow into the typical down screen and split action where Otto here sets the screen for Steph, and then that leaves Steph open. He misses the shot here, but that's good offense. And with this one, if I remember correctly, this is a wrinkle where Steph is the one Steph is the one going inside. He's the one cutting inside with Poole setting the screen, I think. Yeah. And then when Steph dives inside, he's gonna wait for it. He's gonna set a screen as Steph likes doing for. Yeah, he's going inside and he's gonna set the screen on Naz Reid.
Momentarily.
There we go. It'll
Yeah,
get
so-
there.
Yeah, it'll get there. So basically what happens is Steph, he's gonna go set the screen for Wiggs, who's in the dunker spot, and Wiggs is gonna curl. And if you're Steph's defender, your mindset is to stick to Steph at all times. So he's not thinking about a switch here, but the ideal way to defend this would have been to switch. But if you're Steph's defender, you're not gonna switch. Wiggs cuts, curls, and he's free for the layup. Or I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
my
dunk
God.
here, but yeah, he gets the
He gets
easy
the bucket.
bucket.
Yeah, apologies for the Wi-Fi there. But you could see where that one was going.
Yeah, you can see what goes down, the arrows.
Wiggins
see what
tear down the
happens.
rim is what's gonna happen here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen them use like those cross screens, the down screens so often just to like free him up around the rim. Like I'm just so used to those, either one dribble or one step and he just goes immediately into the flush. Like that's just been sort of a bread and butter play for them now.
Those Wiggins cross screens that lead to kind of Wiggins is the deep seal a lot of the time. Do we have numbers on how often that works? Because in my head, that's one of the Warriors' most efficient plays.
With Wiggs.
When that cross
being in the
screen gets Wiggins,
cross screen for Wiggs.
Mhm.
Well, I haven't checked the numbers lately because the way those Wiggins cross screens work is they try to get Wiggs in good post position, right? And two, they try to get a mismatch. And even if they don't get the mismatch, when teams try to fight over that screen just to prevent someone getting switched onto him, that gives Wiggins a lot of room to operate on the post. Based on the eye test, I would say it's 50-50. Those because Wiggins, when he's in the post, he has this go-to move where he's turning around and jump hook, right? It's basically what you can expect from Wiggs when he's in that post. He rarely, even if he gets the mismatch, he rarely takes advantage of that mismatch where he backs his man down and then he just basically goes up for a layup or a dunk. Which is kind of one of the more low-key infuriating things about Wiggins when you see him in the post. So, but yeah, I mean, they love that Wiggins cross screen. They do that too when they place Wiggs in that modified split where they use that cross screen and then he makes the decision as to whether he backs down his guy or whether he makes the pass on that split action, right? But I think most of the time he just goes ISO in that post instead of passing out and waiting for Steph or whoever to come down from that down screen. So
unless it's for the record.
Yeah, unless it's for the record. Yeah, right. Like they use that cross screen play, the head tap play. That was the same play that Steph got that record. So I think that was one of the few times for Wiggs. Wiggs didn't look for his shot. So yeah,
it needs to be historically important for him to look to get.
It needs to be historically important, right? So yeah. So you could tell him Steph basically breaks the record with every shot he makes. So
True. So Joe, so when you showed that split action when Wiggins came across and Steph got that open three, obviously like you said, you missed that one. And I feel like in that slump that we saw Steph kind of go through, it wasn't more so he was like missing like tough shots. He was missing the open ones. It felt like, and it felt like he was still getting the right looks. So what did you see, or what, Charlie obviously, like what have you guys seen like film wise in that slump that because it didn't feel like it was like tough shots. It felt like it was missing open shots. Was there anything offensively you saw, like him coming off or anything like that?
Um, well, the way I saw it, he was getting the same kind of shots he was getting last season.
That's yeah, that's what it felt like.
The shot, like the shot diet, like the difficulty, the degree of difficulty was the same. He's getting he's getting a lot of difficult shots, but he's also getting a lot of open shots too, And the offense is doing like so far, it's been doing a great job of getting him these looks. And in terms of physical condition, I didn't see anything that told me that he's declining. He's the same.
Yeah.
He can still get separation
He
if
can
he
still
wants
drop
to.
50 on you.
It's just, I don't know. It's just something mental, I guess, and a bit, I'm not an expert on shot mechanics, but maybe just something really, really minor in terms of mechanics. Like we all read that MT2 piece about where he was, I think he
The
was
toes, the balls, the toes.
yeah, the toes, right? Instead of the balls of his feet, right? So
Crazy.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a mixture of that plus I like, it's hard that we're saying this about Steph, but it's mental.
Yeah.
Like he's hesitating on a lot of these open shots too. Like, he's taking rhythm dribbles, which is kind of, it's a minor pet peeve of mine where if you take a rhythm dribble before you take that open shot, I think you miss it. I think it's not going to help the rhythm dribble. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's nothing really physical, nothing really in terms of the schematics and the kinds of shots he's getting. It's more of just he's missing open shots, whether it's mental, whether it's mechanics, whether it's a mixture of both. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that. But we're seeing an uptick from him lately, so
he's playing, I think, the best. Like he's playing like the ultimate point guard right now.
we were hoping that uptick right now. He's, I think Marcus tweeted it out. He's something like 47% over the last 5 games on threes or something like that. So yeah, hopefully that's like a regression to the mean. He's at 38% right now after dipping below. So hopefully by the end of the regular season, that's like a 40 or 41.
I bet you he hits 41, 42 by the end of the year. He's looking a lot more calm all of a sudden, and I feel good about it. Like you said, I don't think it's a long-term issue, but I don't know why. The whole time you were talking, Joe, I was just imagining. You guys know that song? What's it called, man? It starts with my toes and I crinkle my nose wherever it goes. The song. Who's it by? I was just imagining like a Steph highlight. Yeah, that's what it is, man. I was imagining like some Steph highlight video with the with that song playing in the background with the Marcus Thompson piece being read beforehand and just like it starts with my toes. Then like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's what I was imagining the whole time, man. It's kind of chuckling to myself. But if you guys are all good with it, we're gonna take a quick break and hear from Anchor for a second, and then we're gonna jump back in. Joe and Charlie are gonna walk us through some more classic Warriors sets. And thanks guys for listening so far.
Yo, guys, welcome back. Matt, thank you so much, as always, for those words from Anchor. Shout out Anchor. We love you guys. But let's jump right back in. We got our guy Joe Viray here. We've been breaking down some film, kind of talking Warriors, basketball, NBA in general. Joe, thank you so much again for hopping on. But here we are. This next clip. So what are we seeing here, Joe?
Okay, so this is their favorite end of quarter set, which is like, I call it the Ram screen action because it starts out with a Ram screen for here. Bielitsa sets it for Steph. It's this screen the screener. So he sets the screen for Steph and Steph sets like the screen. He ghosts it or fakes it. And then the real action is on that side, on that weak side, or rather the strong side, where Bielitsa goes on the down screen for, like, JTA sets the down screen and Bielitsa goes up and shoots. So basically, if y'all guys know Eric Apricot from from Dub Nation HQ, he used to be GSOM2. He calls this the Clay play because they used to run this a lot for Clay back in the day. So basically, it's another one of Kerr's favorite pet plays where you recognize it straight away if you know it's coming. Basically, if you have uh, Wiggs or Steph setting the ghost screen up top after receiving a screen of their own, it's just watch whoever sets the screen, the initial screen, and he's the one that's gonna come off the down screen. So it's easy to recognize if you know this is coming. I think this is the split action one. Yeah, we've we've already been through this.
Yeah, this is this. So I remember you having this clip. Like, I mean, Gotham, if
Yeah.
you want, you can kind of skip through the middle of it, but the last part of the clip is sort of seeing how the
Oh yeah, yeah.
split and
Yeah.
screen
All right,
work
yeah, I
together.
remember. I remember. Yeah, I remember because I was uh I was just displaying that just because this particular action is a combination of both the split action and the ram screen, which is when I first saw it against the Bulls, is like, I can't believe they just did that. Like, Kerr's a madman. He's combining two of his favorite pet plays and just without shame, just and it worked. It worked because in this instance, the ram screen action, it was Looney being the one going around the down screen. And we all know that, Looney receiving the down screen it's nothing. Like he's not gonna shoot that. He's not gonna shoot that.
Lethal.
He's not gonna shoot that. But it's basically just him going, being the feeder, the entry passer down low to, I think it was Draymond in that instance. And then they're flowing into that modified three-way split. So like it's just, I think Kerr just played with it. He's like, what if I combine these two? And against the Bulls it worked. So hey, Kerr being the experimental mad scientist that he is, during the regular season, I don't know how else I can explain that. So
Yeah, like, dude, that's the stuff that's, like you said, Kavan coming off like a down screen is just absolutely nothing. Like, that's just Kerr kind of like flexing his muscle to like a hilarious degree. And it's just, like to a certain degree, it almost feels deflating. Like, we shared that clip back and forth like offline where they ran the split action that took like 5 or 6 seconds to actually like go through and develop, and having like Looney slip to the rim. So when you combine like the confusion that these ram screens develop into it with sort of just like the slogging out, like, if you're a defender, like your job defending the split action is to wait out and see what's happening and not react. Like your job is to try to identify who the real threat is coming out of it, and that's impossible when you also have like guys coming in and screening on your hip and like forcing you into instant decisions. Like that's where you're just kind of putting these guys in a blender mentally.
And the key to whether split action is going to work or not is watching that the big man, the opposing big man, the one defending Looney in most instances, because the split action, the ideal way to defend it is you switch the down screen, right? And it depends on what the big, like whoever's defending Looney, and if that big is dropping back and he's not paying attention to what Looney's doing, that's most of the time that's a Steph open three, right? But if the big is paying attention, he knows that Steph is gonna come around the down screen. He's gonna switch that, or he's at least gonna blitz Steph, right, or hedge. But then the problem with that is Looney knows what to do if that happens, and he's gonna slip. He's gonna roll to the rim. Steph's gonna find him. I think that happened with the Kings too. The Kings or yesterday, I'm not sure, but it happened where it was against the Thunder where Favors was burned on a split action because he was dropping back, but then later on he wisened up, he switched onto Steph, he blitzed Steph, but Looney was already rolling to the rim and Steph found him. So that's the difficulty with split action is as the defense, you have to be aware, you have to be fully cognizant of all the possibilities that come out of it.
So you're saying the Warriors Twitter is overreacting when they say the split action is too much or not as good or scripted or whatever?
I would say it's not too much for the regular season, because Charlie, we were talking about this offline, but you mentioned that Kerr probably gets bored throughout the regular season, and he has to do all of these scripted stuff, or the progressions, the motion, the split action, the experimentation, just to get himself going, because he has these moments where he's just sitting on the bench, he's just chilling, watching the action and not being active, but then he's just like the players. The players get bored, the players need something to motivate them. Like, it's an 82 game season, it's long. The veterans and Kerr have been through this loads of times before, so they need something to get them going. Kerr needs something to motivate him to coach actively. So he does all of these things where he gets everyone involved. The split action is basically just a way to get a lot of people involved. And so of the other sort of the motion stuff, it's just to get everyone energized and to keep the flow as uninterrupted and as energetic as possible. It's basically it. I mean, the playoffs, I think Kerr and the rest of the team knows that they'll have a different kind of setup during the playoffs. So I'm not really that concerned. Like, it's just regular Kerr Warriors stuff in the regular season.
January, February basketball.
Yeah.
There's the other stuff too. Like, one of the things that I've been keeping an eye on is all the stuff that they've been running, especially with Clay as a screener out of double drags. And that's, not an unusual play for any team, especially in a motion offense where you have so much screening. But like you said, it's the same sort of principle where at the very least, like 3 out of the 5 guys on the court are going to be involved in it somewhat and have something to do. And you can create all these other counters that may just get everyone involved. So, like it sort of tickles Kerr's need, like have something new and have something exciting. But at the very least, like it means when these sort of base sets are coming and like you're sort of in like the doldrums and the creativity isn't really there, like you still have these actions that are just involving so many guys on the floor. And that's how you just kick yourself out of slumps so quickly. That's, I think, part of the reason why this team they don't stay down for very long, because you don't have this like collective slumping where everyone's getting down together. Like, they sort of can raise this floor up around them. On the court is all where it starts. So if everyone's staying happy in the offense and doing their thing, then it benefits everyone. And some people just call that like, his communist offense or whatever. Like, people love to just like rip on it, but like, like it's got its benefits for like literal like team building, just, like building a team of guys who want to do all this stuff together, instead of like, oh, these 2 dudes are running pick and roll over there. Like, maybe I'll get past 2, who knows?
Oh, people got their like Chinese Communist Party jokes off, and or Comrade Kerr jokes, and
Dude, it's ridiculous how many times I've seen Fire Steve Kerr on Twitter for like just a loss in like December or January. It's insane. But
well, that's the thing. You just have to. That's the thing.
it's
at
NBA,
first
man. It's Twitter.
At first you get infuriated, but then you kind of expect it after every loss. So
man, that Pacers
It is
loss was tough. That one was.
The funny ones were last week. They had 8 or 9 guys, and lo and behold, Chioza gets minutes, because you have to play Chioza minutes in a game like that. And people are like, I cannot believe Chioza is out there right now. This is bullshit. It's like, what do you expect, man?
I mean, who else are you gonna play, right?
Exactly. I was like, yo, I'll suit up, man. I mean, I guess not right now, but we'll be there. But I will reshare my screen as we jump into the next action.
This one.
There's
I love this one.
Let's go.
Yeah, so like
Right,
I threw this in like the secondary category, but just with the amount they run it, you can consider it almost like a primary part of it, because I think so many Warriors fans will just go, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, it's another thing they lifted from the Spurs. I mean, the league's basically adopted this play from the Spurs. So it's the hammer action where, they have that weak side flare. screen for a guy running to the corner, and then that skip pass along the baseline. It's just a beautiful play to watch. I mean, like, here's Mike Brown running it. Mike Brown's a former Spurs assistant, so you can bet that he's running this. That Nigeria exhibition win over the US. Draymond here is doing a good job. He's doing a good job defensively, but it's not his fault. It's actually going to be Dame's fault in this instance. So yeah, they start out with a Chicago action, which is like a pin down dribble hand into a dribble handoff, basic stuff. And then, yeah, here's where the hammer goes. Yeah, Draymond has to step up, as the low man, because Dame wasn't able to contain at the point of attack. So that basically leaves Zach LaVine on an island. And there you go. And yeah, Steve Kerr's going to run this. I love this one because Looney is pretty much the guy very much involved in this action where he sets that initial screen for Steph. It's basically a ram screen too. He sets for Steph, ram screen, Steph goes to the screen up top, and then that ghosted screen serves as his runway towards the corner, and then Looney turns around and sets the screen, and Steph gets freed up. And the thing about this is when they initially ran it, I think the first Suns game, it didn't work because you need someone who can penetrate, ball handler who can penetrate, and they use Chioza primarily. But the problem with Chioza is he's short, so he can't make those get passes to the corner. So they adjusted by having JTA be the guy who makes the pass and Wiggs make the pass. So I think that was a pretty good adjustment from them. And this one sideline out of bounds. Yeah, I think this is the same play. It's just out of a sideline setup. So yeah, I mean, this whole play is contingent on someone making that pass when they're in the paint. So yeah, Otto's the one here. JP's actually the one making the shot. And yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful play to watch. But the thing about it is I have been noticing teams are more aware of it. It's normal. They've scouted it. And it's something that I don't think just they can run a lot of times now. It's like the elevator. You whip it out once in a while. It works if the defense isn't paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's where it becomes, like we talked about having all these counters earlier, especially in play calling, but like when you sort of work off these predictable things and things that have been scouted, just seeing in that last play, like always a Warriors staple is using immediate screens for the inbounder to get them like an open shot. Like you swing it to the far side of the court, return into like a down screen, and Clay's going open. So the Cavs players saw that, like they both immediately went to double him. And then you have the hammer going on the far side of the court. Like you can, if you're a guy who's clever enough, like Steve Kerr, you can read like, okay, they're starting to pick up on this. So I'm going to show them that play is coming, and then I'm going to go into something else. So that's sort of, I think, of like the small, like brilliant things about him.
And it's cool to see like the little nuances where you're really seeing like there's so many threats on the floor where the defense really is just picking their own poison. And then when you're breaking it down like this, like slowly, and like you're actually showing what's happening, like you're seeing why defenders are going one way, or when, game speed, it's like, why is this guy leaving Steph Curry open? But like, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's really cool to like see that, like see all the options available.
Yeah, I mean, like more so than any other team, the Warriors are hard to follow if you're someone just casually watching and you're not really paying attention to why this happened or how that happened, because everything just moves so fast. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of decoy action, a lot of misdirection, and a lot of rhyme and reason as to why they do particular things. Like, and a lot of it is based like if you want to simplify it, a lot of it is based on the fact that Steph is going to draw a lot of attention off of a screen. Clay is going to draw attention off of a screen. It's basically, like they say that without Steph, without Clay, Kerr's offense isn't going to work. Well, that's duh. That's a big dumb moment, right? Like, I don't think Kerr would have used this particular offense if he didn't have Steph and Clay driving it, So he would have run something else entirely. I don't think he would have run this if he accepted that New York Knicks job. So,
Hey, yo, you take
That's
MJ
especially
off Phil Jackson's roster. Who knows? Triangle might not be as cool as it is right now. That's lethal.
Yeah. Phil probably would have forced Kerr to run triangle. So I don't know.
Exactly. Who knows?
Yeah.
You don't really see that, like, that scheme being in conflict as much in basketball, where coaches tend to be like pretty adaptable and tend to like mesh things for the guys that they have, because like you said, Kerr goes, okay, I have Steph, I have Clay, what can I do to maximize them? And if people want to give him crap for that, that's fine, but the alternative is he comes up with his own rigid, inflexible system that doesn't really mesh with the players. Like, the job is for the players to mesh with the system and not the other way around. And that's what makes Kerr like an incredible player coach. Like, that's why people want to play for him, and why you see all these veterans come in and sing the praises, especially a guy like Andre, because they understand what he's trying to do with that. It's not about oh, I have to go there and make a game plan that's going to win us the game. It's like, no, I have Steph Curry. Why the hell would I try to do that? It's just a stupid like train of logic to fall down. Like, if he could make his job really easy, why wouldn't he?
Hey, work smarter, not harder. There you go, Steve Kerr.
Yeah, shout out to Steve for the hustle.
I'll pull up the next clip, the horns flex. So, yeah, just give it a rip.
Right. So horns flex. It's a basic action that a lot of teams run. Warriors use it to get either Steph an open three like they do here, or when he sets that cross screen, which is called a flex cut. Someone, Kerr uses the flex play call. So it's basically out of horns, where you have two guys at the elbows and two guys at the corner and a ball handler up top. So yeah, Steph goes and sets the screen for Wiggs. That's the flex cut, and Wiggs just gets open for the layup. So it's basically another cross screen heavy action. Like, Warriors love their cross screens, but the difference here is that Steph being the one setting the cross screen, they're banking on the attention the cutter draws for Steph to get open. So he like added down screen from Looney there. It's basically just another heavy, like, using Steph as a screener opens up a lot of things. And then when you add in the element that after Steph sets the screen, he goes off on a down screen himself, it's just hard. It's hard to guard, Yeah, it's low hanging. It's another one of those low hanging fruit where from the eye test, I think it works around 70 to 80% of the time. So whether it's that Steph getting an open shot, or whether the guy who he sets the screen for gets in good position for the layup, for the dunk.
Yeah, I think like you said, part of the thing with horns, especially running out of that setup, it's a play that is a staple for most of the rest of the league. Like, that is just such a distinct set play. I know you watch far more of the rest of the league than I do, but if I'm not mistaken, like the Pacers, like Carlisle loves his horns.
Yeah.
Like, guys like that, they sort of used it as the initial setup play for which things flow out of it. So when you bring that in to Kerr in like a motion offense, and you're sort of starting with this more traditional play setup, I think that's part of that element that throws the defense, where they don't really know what to expect. It starts off pretty simple, and then after Steph makes his decision in the flex cut, it's just total chaos, like a normal motion offense.
and we don't see it in that clip, but you know, if teams do sniff out that Steph down screen, then Looney's free. Looney's free on an
Open
empty
dunk.
corner, empty corner pick and roll basically. So, you know, there's just a lot of things that can flow off of that simple action, especially within this Warriors system where you got Steph. So, yeah, so that's another good one.
So Joe, Chuck, you guys brought up getting open dunks out of some of these actions. One guy that gets a lot of open dunks, and they're kind of just the best dunks ever. I don't know. Should have been in the dunk contest. Shout out JTA. Obviously, gonna be repping our guy, but GP2, man, GP2. So run us through this GP2 play.
Yeah, the GP2 play, which was originally the JaVale play.
The
You know,
JaVale
shout out to JaVale.
Our guy.
So
Our guy.
yeah, it's basically another ram screen for GP, and then he's gonna ghost the screen. Like you notice a lot of these start out with like the ram screen where set the screen for the screener, he goes to screen, and then Iguodala at the elbow, and then it's basically, again, it counts on the gravity of Steph off of those ball screens, right? Where you're counting on someone to here he draws two, pass to Draymond in the high elbow, and then so it's basically, again, like the theme is Steph drawing two off of that ghosted screen, right? And then GP cutting inside, getting the lob. And just like the hammer action, it's another one of those things where you don't run a lot. Teams have scouted it as well. I think as I think they ran it. I can't remember recently, maybe against the Kings or a game or two before that. I noticed they tried to run it, but it didn't work. So it's something that they'll pull out occasionally, just like the elevator, just like the hammer. But yeah, I mean, when you watched it for the first time, it's like, wow, like, and then you go back and I like, this plays familiar, and then they ran it for JaVale, and I think they ran it against Portland in that game where KD was out and they were down big in Portland, and they came back from a deficit and they went up 3-0, if I remember correctly.
2019?
It was almost definitely 3-0, Joe.
2017, where they swept the Blazers. Like, no surprise, they've been sweeping the Blazers for forever, right? So so it's just a fun play. It's one of those fun plays to watch.
Joe, do you see GP2 becoming less effective in the playoffs if he's kind of reliant on finding these seams in a lot of the motion offense?
I could see a scenario where, like half court situation in the playoffs where teams will probably switch more. Teams are probably just gonna sell out more on whoever the main threat is, like a Steph, for instance. I can see if they try to park like GP on the weak side, for example, that weak side is gonna be more of a dead zone. So I like, he's shooting 37%, if I remember correctly, but I don't know how sustainable that is in the playoff environment. So you definitely have that small concern where he's gonna be impactful on defense. There's no question about it. But will you be willing to bank on that impact on defense and count on him trying to be useful in some way in an environment where all of the motion stuff is most probably going to be, they're going to switch everything, and he has to make himself useful in a way, like in a way where defenses will pay for ignoring him. So yeah, I can definitely see that. The defense, you're going to have him for defense out there. It's no question. And yeah, but that's something that, like, that's 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Hopefully they'll find something for him to do on offense by then.
So too,
Joe. One thing too, before we get into the next one. So I thought you brought up that really interesting point, and I'm glad you just, sort of fired down to the ether right before we recorded this, because talking about, especially you saw it on that first GP play, like intentionally ghosting screen versus just not setting a screen at all. Like that is something that is a pretty key difference in like understanding what's going on in the play. So I want you to like take the podium on that, because I think that's really important to sort of understanding, especially in the motion, what's going on.
Yeah. And I fired off that tweet because I was seeing like we saw Wiseman having the 3-on-3 contact drill in Utah, the tweet from Slater. And I wasn't surprised to see in the comments below like, oh, he's still not setting screens. He still doesn't know how to set screens and stuff like that. While I do agree that Wiseman is not a good screen setter, he still needs to learn how to set solid screens. There are instances where you see him intentionally slipping that screen, because like the thought process behind slipping the screen is you prevent a switch from happening, or you punish a switch from happening where, or if Steph draws 2, then you have Wiseman suddenly free rolling to the rim. And that's just like a quick hitting thing where slipping the screen is out there to punish defenses who try to sell out on Steph. So for me, the main difference, like in terms of visual, in a visual sense, is when you slip a screen, they immediately, it's like quick hitting. They go into the roll right away, and you see that it's intentional. Whereas where you try to set an intentional screen, you try to adjust. Like we saw with Kuminga a while back, where he set a bad screen for Steph. Like he sets good screens in general, but there was this one instance I remember. It was in motion week where he was trying to adjust. He was trying to shift. He was moving his feet and intentionally trying to make contact with, I think it was Davion Mitchell. So there's an obvious visible difference between intentionally not setting a screen, whether it's to ghost it and pop out and flare out or slip to the rim, and between that where you're just trying to make contact intentionally with someone, but you can't, right? Because you're too late, or your screening angle is crap. So yeah, I just wanted to say that out there, because I think people need to know the difference more.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought up that Kuminga play, because that was one I was thinking about, where even with slipping screen, there can be sort of the intentional slips where a play is designed like, okay, you're going to come up, get in position, and then you're going to slip as soon as the defender arrives. But there can also sort of be those reactive slips where, especially in Kuminga, when you run that motion weak and they have the empty side pick and roll with Steph, if like you said, defenders, they oversell on Steph and they come really aggressively around the screen, then Kuminga can read, okay, the 2 defenders are now well behind me. It's just me and the low man if I slip right now. So he slips and he's gone. And Steph is able to read that a lot of the times, or Draymond, or whoever else may be the initiator on that play. So it can be sort of this prescribed thing, like worked into the play, like it is on the GP2 lob, or you can sort of have it was like this reactive thing to try to throw off the defense. But yeah, like it's frustrating, like when you see plays like that, and it's like a lot of great screeners have plays where they just don't set a great screen, and that's important to know. Like you got to know if Wiseman's like intentionally trying to do something, or just just missing it.
How much of that is? Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. Oh, like I felt I just want to say I felt like we had this discussion before with KD too. Like KD didn't like setting screens. That's a given. But he also had these intentional slips or ghosts where they're trying to take advantage of a switch down low. If you get Steph's man switched onto KD when he slips that screen, that's good, right? That's good for KD, right? Because he takes advantage of those mismatches. So I felt like the KD doesn't set good screens narrative was a bit overblown, because a lot of that was intentional. That's all I want to say.
And way different player, but we see it with our own team right now. Like I think probably 90% 95% of the time, Bielitsa ghosts the screen and just, flares to the corner. And that's the 100% by design, because the goal is, the defender has to know he's going to switch, because basically the only thing Bielitsa can do offensively is hit like a standstill catch and shoot three. So you got to go recover to him. And it's, it may look like he just doesn't want to set screens at all. And maybe he doesn't, but that doesn't mean he can't have some utility as a screener.
Yeah.
How much of that's going to be reading the play versus what they're told to be doing? So for Kuminga, for example, you mentioned good screener in general, right? How much of this is going to be, hey, Kerr's like, hey, we're slipping the screen every play for the next 2 or 3, or how much of this is Kuminga reading it, or how much of this is Steph directing him?
I think it definitely changes from possession to possession and from matchup to matchup. Like, if the team, if they see teams really selling out on Steph, for example, with every ball screen, they're definitely gonna try to slip the screens more. They're definitely gonna try to emphasize rolling to the rim hard or being that guy in the short roll. So whereas if a team switches more, I would say their emphasis is like, well, with KD, they try to do that soft slip where they try to get that mismatch. So I would say if they're switching more, the emphasis is more getting on those mismatches. Whereas if they're selling out on Steph, it's like try to set that screen, but roll hard to the rim, like make it quick, make it fast. So I think in my view, it changes from possession to possession, from matchup to matchup. So it's not something that Kerr actively says like, oh, switch on this or slip on that. Like, I think the guys, then that's the thing about having smart players, right? They know what to do without the coaches having to tell them what to do with every possession. So I think it's definitely up to the players to adjust to on the fly.
Yeah, so seeing Kuminga do this right now is kind of an encouraging sign of some decent fielding.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, right? He's developing this feel for what to do on offense, and he's 19. That's one of the things you definitely like from him, and he's gonna get better.
Love it.
Star in the making, Jonathan Kuminga. We gotta take a quick 2-minute break, hop back on, and then close out this last play, and then bash the Kings probably for a little bit.
To tell you even more about Anchor.
It tell you a little bit more about Anchor. That's right. One more Anchor announcement coming up, but stay tuned, guys, as we wrap this one up. Yo, guys, welcome back. And as we've had on this entire episode, our guy, one of the best videographers, video breakdown guys, along with our guy Charlie, Joe Viray. As I have been corrected, I was pronouncing that wrong. But Joe, welcome back. Thank you so much again for running through all these clips with us. It's been great, just talking, getting to pick your guys' brain. You and Charlie, 2 out of the 3 core 3 of the video breakdown guys on Dub's Twitter. But we got one more.
Sounded like you were throwing shade at Charlie there, man. You're like, we got
I know,
great videographer,
I gotta get my voice
video breakdown guy,
Dude, I
Joe,
don't
and then we have
throw
Charlie.
shade at me. Like,
I was like, oh, I gotta get my
Joe's in
voice
here.
up too. So I was like, all right, let's split it up. But both you guys have been great. Matt, as soon as I get those screen sharing privileges, I will pull up that last clip. But I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we are, because this has actually been one of the most knowledgeable episodes of the Game 6 Clay Pod. So
Good to go.
good to go. Cool. And here we are.
All right. This is the another favorite of mine, the Iverson cut, because it's called the Iverson cut most of all because of that little cut that in this instance Wiggs makes. It's Allen Iverson used to make that cut a lot with Sixers back in the day, so they basically named it after him. So Poole makes the Iverson cut here. Steph sets the back screen for Wiggins, and they ran it yesterday against Thunder. And Kuminga is setting the screen. Kuminga is the one getting the lob here. So basically, it's another one of those. Oh, Steph sets a screen. He has the gravity. There's a lot of misdirection. But the gist of it is Steph setting the screen and someone gets free because of it. So you notice we're here in GTA and Draymond ran a bit of that decoy handoff action. It's just basically to distract the strong side defenders from the actual meat of the play, which is the Steph back screen. The Iverson cut is just another initiating action just to, you know, uh, have someone have that defender, whoever's defending the guy getting on that Iverson cut, to basically be distracted from the actual action. So I think I mentioned this before. I don't know who, I forgot who, I think it was Charlie, where this was a play that they haven't ran all that much this season. They've only run it, I think, once by my count. That one where Wiggins took the lob. But I mentioned, I think it was Charlie. I mentioned this to you where it would be a good play for them to run for Kuminga. And lo and behold, they ran it against the Thunder. So I think Steve's been listening to me. I think listening to me and Charlie. So yeah,
dude, is he reading our messages?
burner account.
Like,
they're reading our messages.
The burner account.
Yeah.
literally,
So,
like right
yeah.
after, man.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Cyclone play. It's an I would say, I don't want to say an old school Warriors play, but it's a play they ran more during 14-15, 15-16, where it's the same principle with Steph setting the back screen and someone, I think it's Draymond was the guy who was the beneficiary of the back screen. It's a same principle with that. It's without the Iverson cut, obviously. But yeah, I just love those back screen plays where Steph sets the screen and someone gets free off of it. Like, it's just, Steph is the best guard screener in history, I would say. He's just the willingness to screen. It's just amazing to watch. Yeah, like, you name another superstar in the league who's willing to do all of that. It's just
James
like,
Harden.
well, it's funny. It's funny because the Lakers Twitter, Lakers people are just clamoring for Russ to be a screener, because at this point that's how he can make himself useful in the offense, right? As a screener, as sort of like a supercharged Bruce Brown, making decisions on the short roll. Whereas we have Steph just setting screens. Sometimes he's setting screens too much, for his own good. But yeah, you just love to see it. You just love to see it from him.
Yeah, shout out my guy, one of my favorite other guys who just puts clips up there, James Boo. He does a lot of coverage on Hornet stuff. He always has it in his bio, and it gets me every time. Over screening is a thing, and
Yeah,
it absolutely is, man. Like, you can screen yourself right out of an opportunity. But yeah, like you said, with Russ, it's all cool in theory, but he has to actually want to do it, and want to do it over and over and over again until it actually works. And that's part of it. It's not like it just hey, that was fun, let's pull this out, once in a while. Like, Steph's got to commit to setting these screens every damn play.
yeah.
It's some crazy stuff to watch, honestly. I never get tired of it.
And you know how Steph is oh, go ahead.
No, go, Joe, go.
Oh, no, I just want to say Steph is like a super believer of the offense, where he's content with running whatever action they want to run. And yeah, I mean, basically that the screening plays into that Steph believes in the system thing, where he just wants to be that obedient guy within that offense, sets the screens. And a lot of people complain about that too, right? Like, Steph, like, just give the ball to Steph and let him cook. And there's certainly a certain truth to that, where sometimes you just have to give it to Steph and let him create. But I think what most people fail to realize is that Steph's really, really bought in with this system. He believes in it so much, and he can demand the ball. He can demand the ball whenever he wants, right? That's no problem. Kerr's not going to stop him. not anyone on that team is not going to stop him. If he says, give me the ball and get out of the way, they will do that in a heartbeat. It's just that Steph just prefers to run the offense most of the time. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Like, that's the thing where most people I think don't get.
That's a beautiful place to cap this one off, man. The ultimate Steph purist basketball take. Wholeheartedly agree right there. But yeah, that was awesome. Joe, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure having you on here. Matt, Charlie, any final words or stuff to say?
Nah, man. I mean, go follow Joe at Joe Viray NBA. You always have not only the clips out there, but like you always have something good coming after every game, like some good tidbits, some good play wrinkle, something on how these players have been playing. Like it's always great stuff, man. So yeah, gotta plug the goat.
Yeah, Joe, you're great, man. It's been really cool having you. I feel like my Game 6 Clay seat is kind of hot right now, so a little worried for myself, man. But no, all jokes aside, man, thanks for coming on. It's been a great time having you, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'd love to be here again some other time and just nerd it out with you fellas. Yeah, had fun.
You're welcome, man. The School of Joe is it's pumping,
anytime, man. Yo, we got the Book of Barnett, we got the School of Joe and Chuck. And other than that, man, it's here, us at the Game 6 Clay Pod. We appreciate you guys listening, following us on Twitter. This one's gonna be on YouTube, so check us out, leave a comment. But yeah, keep following us and go Dubs, man. Thank you so much, guys. And Game 6 Clay Pod, we out. Peace.